There it is, recording.
Hello. My name is Joe Rodriguez. I'm with the Mechanical Engineering Department here at Texas State Technical College. And this afternoon what I'm going to do is demonstrate how to sharpen a drill. Now we have a pedestal grinder, an industrial type pedestal grinder that we're going to be using. And the very first thing I'm going to do, I have my tool rest on the machine. I am going to use the diamond dresser to dress the wheel just very lightly, and then I'm going to turn the machine off because it'll get a little bit noisy. So the first thing I'm going to do is I stand over to the side. I don't want to expose my body to the machine, so I'm going to stand over to the side and turn the machine on. Okay, wait a couple of seconds and then you can go ahead and move on in front of the machine. Now what we're going to do is just use the tool rest to just slightly dress the machine. Now the idea is not to make the wheel small, but to dress it so it's flat. So here we go. Now notice that I'm going back and forth with the wheel dresser. The idea of that is to get a nice flat surface. I want to get all my high spots from one side of the wheel to the other nice and flat. So I'll do a little bit more of that, and then I think we'll be ready to sharpen the drill. Okay, the next step I'm going to do is I want to show you a gauge that we use for sharpening the drill. And this drill gauge is a 59-degree single-sided or 118-degree included angle, which is on most standard US drill bits. So if you'll notice, the way that we're going to use that is we're going to place that drill gauge right against the side, and we're going to move it until we have no light on that drill bit point. Okay, so with that being said, the very first thing I'm going to do is kind of make this drill even worse than it is. I'm going to start off with something fairly rough. So I am just going to kind of mess this thing up pretty good for everybody, so you can see that we're starting out with a pretty destroyed tool bit. And I'll try not to do that to yours, but chances are I may just do this. At any rate, here we go. We'll start from scratch. The first thing I'm going to do is I want my drill bit introduced to the wheel at that 59-degree line. I conveniently scored some 59-degree marks across the tool rest so that we can have a guide at least when we first start out. So with that being said, that drill bit should be approximately at that angle, which is 59 degrees. The other thing I want you to notice is my cutting edge is right on the edge of that tool. Therefore, I want that to be parallel to the floor as I introduce it. Now, parallel means the tail is not up. The tail of the drill should be parallel. It should not be down, but parallel to the ground or to the floor, if you will. So we'll introduce that at that 59 degrees. I'm going to use my fingers on the tool rest to hold an elevation, and then I'm going to hold that drill bit right there as I go back and forth. Now I'm going to go back and forth with that drill bit because I'm trying to create a nice flat land across that front edge. And then when I'm finished with my approximate angle, then I want to pick the heel up slowly. Pick that heel up. That's what's going to give me the relief on the back side of the drill bit. I'm going to flip it, since I had destroyed that so much and distorted it so much. I'm going to get a nice edge on the opposite side, and then we'll start to measure it, or at least check it. So again, parallel to the floor, approximate that 59-degree line and introduce it to the wheel. Use the full width of the wheel as you're going across the drill bit. Okay, here we go. Back and forth, nice and easy. Don't force the drill bit. Let the wheel do the cutting. back and forth, nice and easy. And then remember, when we get the approximate geometry, we want to kick the heel back up. That's going to give us our relief in the back. We're going to keep that tool bit cool. Now, one thing I want you to notice, just by looking at it, I can tell that this angle is longer, or this face here is longer than this face. This face looks a lot shorter. Therefore, I have to get this face to approximate the length of this one. So we're going to go back in with this face. Again, nice and gently, back and forth. Try to maintain that nice angle, and then kick the heel back. Cool it off, and let's look at it. Well, now they're looking a little bit closer, as you can see. Now, let's put the gauge on here, and let's see what how that looks against that gauge. So here we go. I'm going to try and see if I can demonstrate this using the light through the window. So I'm going to place that right along the edge of the gauge, and I'm going to bring it up. Notice that there's no light on this particular side. Let's take a look at the other side and see how close I am with that one. We're going to go back up there, and again, there's no light there. Now, the other thing I want you to notice on this gauge is we have a scale across the face of that gauge. And what I want to make sure is the length of the flute is the same on both sides of the drill bit. So let's take a look. That one appears to be somewhat around 10. Let's just call it a 10. Let's see what this one looks like. Take a look at this one, and that looks like maybe a 9.5 or so, something like that. So I'm going to touch this up a little bit more, and then we'll gauge it one more time. Now notice when I go back and introduce it to the wheel, it's the same process. I don't alter anything. I would just want to go against that wheel just very slightly, and then just touch that off. Take that wheel back up, get that back side relieved, cool it off, and let's check it one more time. Now, what does my measurement read this time? 9.5. Take a look at this side. Remember, if we cut that side, this side should be also altered, and that's 9.5, and no light. So that drill bit has the relief on the back side to be able to cut a part. That's the end of my demonstration. The next thing is, it can look as pretty as it wants to look. If it doesn't cut, it still hasn't done its job. So we're going to go test this and see if it actually does some cutting. Thank you.